Hello and welcome to Arts Alive. I'm Claudia Herber and I'm here today with Jane Wilson, and we're going to talk about this fabulous art that you see on the table. So welcome, Jane.
Well, thank you.
Good to see you. Now you and I know each other because we have in common that we're gourd artists, but you take this to an entirely different level. So Jane is a weaver, so tell us, Jane, tell us about these beautiful pieces and what you're doing with them.
Well, I'm originally from Kansas and was involved with the Missouri, it's called the, let me think, Show Me Gourd Society, but it's in Missouri, and we didn't have one in Kansas. So when I moved to Oregon and there was no gourd group that I knew of, I got involved with the basket weavers. And the basket weavers, I got involved with the Portland hand weavers, and the hand weavers had a show with with the Gathering of the Guilds. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to show with them, I need to do weaving. So I started expanding on the weaving that I did, which is on a gourd, such as this. This is a real thick canteen gourd. I take Danish cord, that is actually a 3-ply twisted paper. And so I untwisted some of it so you could see that it's actually just like paper sack that's been twisted together and then twisted 3 times. And the reason I like this, in my search for a product that I could dye gourds these brilliant colors, there was no weaving product that looked good with it other than just natural.
Okay.
And I wanted a lot of color. So when I dye these, I also dye the cord using the same ink dyes that I use on the bottom so they match. Oh. So if you notice on this one, the purple, silver, turquoise, and green, I try to pull out all the colors from the button. So when I dye the gourd, then I dye the cord, and then I weave. So when I moved to Portland, there was no one doing this, and I haven't really run across that many people doing it either. Then when COVID hit and we went Zoom, I started teaching on Zoom to people all over the United States. And my technique has been getting more and more popularity. Mine is so different than what you do, because I take the gourd and I weave from the top up, except one time. I bought this fish skin. This is a salmon skin.
Oh, all right.
From Alaska.
Right here.
This is a salmon skin. I don't usually do this a lot, but I was teaching in Seebeck in Washington, and this gal had these salmon skins. So I bought one, and my friend said I couldn't because they were going to stink on the way home. Well, it had a little fishy smell, but I put it inside a plastic bag. I put it in my suitcase, and I got it home, even though Marty said I shouldn't bring it.
All right.
So I am, in many past lives, also a wood burner and a painter. So I drew salmon, painted it with metallic paints, and I did what's called knotless netting over it to mimic fish netting.
Sure.
Did some couching, and I came up with a piece I call Salmon Run.
And couching is
Couching is here. It's a sewing technique where you poke holes in the gourd, put the cord on, and you just sew over it and go back through the hole.
Right.
So you have to drill a lot of little holes to do this. And if you look inside, you can see the stitches.
You can see those stitches in there.
Yes.
Right.
So this is really different, but since I weave on it, I can call this a basket.
Oh, is that right?
So when I show with basket weavers, this one will qualify because they consider it a weaving basket.
Right.
And I have a friend that is a Native American, and she told me, she said, "Oh, Jane, we can go down wherever close to Eugene and get all the fish skins you want." And I thought, not if they're raw. I don't want to do all the scraping and the drying. So the lady from Alaska sells them like already dried
and ready to go.
And I think she said she put glycerin on them.
Okay.
So I did go back and add a little pink to it and a little more gray shine, so it gave it a little more character.
Yeah.
I'm going to see her in 2 weeks, I hope, and pick up some more. But the ones that I do that I'm really known for are the weaving where I go outside the gourd. I don't just go up.
Right.
I'll go down and around, and I never know what the thing's going to look like when I'm done. You know, I may have some beads around and think, oh, well, beads will look good here. Oh, there's space here, so I'll weave in and out. I'll weave till I run out of cord, and I think there's 50 feet of cord on this particular piece. The little one there with the glass button is not as much because I didn't have as, you know, I actually have, you run out of places to go.
I see, because of the smaller size of the gourd.
And I did the medallion with the beads on it. So I like to put beads, and the buttons are just so pretty.
Yeah. Oh, the button is beautiful. And then, of course, all your cord matches with the surface paint here.
Right.
And I know you do that with alcohol inks.
Alcohol inks and a product called Formula 49. And we don't know what's in 49,
no, we
do
don't.
We? I mean, when I'm teaching and I tell students that, they think I'm kidding.
Right.
But we don't know what's in 49. I think it's one of those, if you work for the company, you lose your life if you tell, because you know us, if we can figure out a cheaper way to do it, we're going to do it.
Right, exactly.
But the reason I use that particular product, I have tried on when I dye cord. When I first heard about coloring the cord, the person used floral spray.
Floral spray?
Yeah, just the kind that I think they color the carnations with.
Oh, I see.
Floral spray.
Oh, I see.
So I put it out in the garage, and I laid the cord out, and I got more spray in the garage than I did on the cord. And I said, this isn't going to work.
Right.
So then I tried diluting acrylic paint. Well, it's not going to work. This is paper. And what happens when you put water on paper? It just swells.
Right.
You can do it, but you'll lose the integrity of the cord because this is paper.
Sure.
I tried oil paints and paint thinner. Couldn't get a pretty color. I can't even, alcohol inks just went on there and stayed. But with 49 and ink dye, and the ink dye is the ink that you use to re-ink stamp pads. You don't have to buy the one from the company that I buy a lot of my colors from. It's any ink that you use to re-ink stamp pads. So Memories is another brand from another company. And I found if I dilute it with the 49, then I get this pretty sheen. If I use any other product, it soaks in and it's really dull. It's something to do with the way it wicks. And I will dye 20 yards at a time, and I get it everywhere.
And do you end up spraying it on, Jane, or you just lay it in a tray or something?
Okay, here I go. I got a paper plate, one of our real expensive palettes, and I've already dyed my gourd. So I have those colors left over from my gourd. So then I will take 49 and I will dilute ink dye half and half.
Okay.
And I take a premium, it has to be a premium, cotton round, and I soak up as much ink and dye as I can, and then I just squeeze it. And see, I want to very decayed it, so I go here, and then I squeeze it here, and I squeeze it here, and I'll look, make sure it's all soaked in.
Right.
Then I'll pick up the next color. and then I'll squeeze. So
I
like on
see.
this one,
I
it
see.
is rich mahogany, a deep green, red, orange. And on that one is probably Caribbean blue, turquoise, plum,
Right.
and maybe plain blue. No, there's purple in there too. So
Yes.
that way you can control it. Now, it's not the cheapest way to dye the cord, but it is the most effective for my art.
I see that. I see that. Well, I wondered how you got the variation of the color.
So when I taught the class at the gourd group, when we had all that ink dye, I looked at the cotton round and said, oh, I can't waste it because we know how much this costs per half ounce.
Right.
So I'll put that cotton round in a plastic bag and save it and regenerate the ink with 49 later.
Oh,
so,
I see. Sure.
So when I'm ready to do a great big one like this, before I cut it, I will do all those steps. So on here you'll see, you can see rich mahogany, red, orange, deep green. And this finish is just plain stained because I wanted the salmon that are going upstream to show up.
Sure,
and I wished I
exactly.
had done it a little lighter, but you know, once it's on there, you've got to continue. There's no going back.
That's fabulous. That is fabulous. So Jane, tell us where we can find you. Where can we see your work?
Let's see, right now, I'm not showing anywhere until July.
Okay.
And in July, these 3 pieces, if they're accepted by the Columbia Basin Basket Guild, will be shown at the Lincoln City Cultural Art, Lincoln City Cultural Arts Center?
I believe so.
Long name. And we're working with the Fiber Arts Group.
Okay.
Now, I showed with them a year ago, and I was only supposed to be there a month, and I ended up being there 6 months.
Oh,
because
very
with
nice.
my 3-dimensional pieces, it looked great with all the fiber arts like your scarf. You know, they had weavers come in that put the things on the wall, and then they had mine sitting around, and all the colors looked really awesome.
Oh, yes, I can see that.
And
I
I'm
can see that.
teaching, more teaching now than showing and selling. I say Zoom kind of changed my whole outlook on art because I'm like you, I can't sit and do nothing. I have to be doing something, and I can't just do one, because I'll do one and I'll look at it and think, oh, the next one will be better. Or maybe I'll just, instead of going up here, I'll go over here. And then, you know, you've got 40, 50 hours in this piece. You're going to keep it, but maybe the next one I won't use so much of this color, or I'll do something else. Because, you know, colors are changing. You know, we kind of do our art to complement people's homes. The only color I've used that people don't really like is gray.
Yeah, I understand that.
Even silver, when I've tried more silver, it doesn't sell. If I use, the thread I use is called waxed linen, waxed linen Irish thread. And I tried one time to do a blue turquoise one with gray thread. I ended up tearing it apart and redoing it because gray's not a color, even though it's really hot and decorating. They want more of a punch of color.
Got it. Got it. Well, thank you so much for explaining all of that, Jane. And your work is fabulous, as always. So it's been Arts Alive. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.